Hi. So today I got lucky talking to people who just share intimate details about their lives and just allow me to practice my skills into looking, hey, like what did you experience before coming here on Earth? Or what's going on with your life, somewhat of a remote viewing, psychic readings and all. And today I found a thing called, well, a group of beings called Teluvians. And I have no idea if I'm pronouncing it right or not. I just like exploring and saw this thing. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's how I'd say it now. But for me, it was very interesting because this group probably has a lot to do with some people here on Earth not being able to find someone to love or actually having their love life somewhat suppressed. And what I mean is, this group is basically a wolf in a sheep's clothing. They appear like a light bubble. And like you do energy work and you remove anything that's dark and you put in the good stuff, the light stuff. And that's supposed to be like nice and all. But this group, they're away from Earth and everything else. And they appear like a nice little bubble, right? Like, or at least the first impression when you see them. And they give you this warm, fuzzy feeling. And of course, they're not giving you any religious stuff, but they're sort of like scanning for people specifically who are looking for love, who are looking for that intimacy, the trust, the relationships where they can connect and be loved and all. And so, like, not everyone will be the target of that being for sure. But for those that like crave for that, this being will appear, and that sort of like light orb or energy ball can shapeshift. So it appears like, like, hey, first consciousness point of view, we don't really have a body, but when we assume the identity when we're exploring and going into some games we're going to play in certain realms and dimensions, of course we can get the body if we want to. And so these beings, the Teluvians, they appear, let's say, warm, fuzzy, and loving, and you connect with them, and like, like, wow, like it feels so good being with them. You finally like have this trust, and what happens is like they turn off your red flag radars. It's no longer your lie detector doesn't work anymore. So when you connect to them, it's kind of like your guard drops somewhat. And then they can shapeshift, like, like, hey, would you like to live together? Or these beings, they're baiting you. They remind me of that fish in the deep sea, deep waters, where they have this like light bulb. And they're gonna try to attract the prey with the light when then snap and kills them and all. So, like you can like, okay, get an offer, or let's say they're all interested in you and they're interested in satisfying your needs. Like, oh, well, you're interested in finally having a love of your life and having that thing. And these beings are like really, I don't know, like really deceptive. They can spend years and years, not just months, but a very long lifetime trying to give you the best. And that's how they work, like for example, like, like you're like, okay, well, here's a nice planet, like your paradise. If you think of the Hawaiian beach or like California or like Florida or something else, your own like perfect scenery of what the world should be like, or at least that part. And it's like, let's say warm and like nice, and like the weather is perfect, and you have the trees you want, and the nature is your way, and the people look the way you like. It's all like giving you and satisfying you with that. And this being, is going to shapeshift into anything that you sort of like or go for. So let's say if you like a human life, they can shapeshift into a human, and like boom, they have the looks you always dreamed of. You don't like that, they can shapeshift and sort of like satisfy you with like, oh wow, this is your dream husband, dream wife, or dream lover, or anything you wanted, like, and they can give you all of those pleasures. And then the life goes on. You actually feel loved. You actually feel deeply connected, and you have that trust in everything else. And I don't want to tell this dark story of, oh, like don't trust anyone at all anymore your whole existence. No, it's like some beings are just doing that, and I really hope like you're not going to find yourself in this case. But like, so living a long time with these beings, the Teluvians, and anything can happen. You can have your picnics and dates, and the world, you're going to choose to be with them and do anything you want, and the sex life is awesome and everything else, like all your needs are satisfied. And eventually they're looking for certain phrases that are similar to allowing the devil or the vampire inside the house. They're looking for your permission in a way where you're like, oh, you're my best friend forever. Or, like you get into this place where you're filled with love and you want to get really intimate, and I'm yours. Do anything you want to me. Go get me. And that kind of thing where I'm all yours, do anything you want, or you owe me, or tonight I'm all yours kind of thing, is those catchphrases. And somewhat cliche, but you're looking for those specific things that they can hook you on. And the moment we sort of say it, it's like we drop our guard off. And they use that alone as if it's a permission for life. And they get us, they bait us, boom, we're hooked. Some people by this group, the Teluvians, they get forcefully incarnated, forcefully pushed on Earth. Some get into soul traps. And eventually, when we come here, what happens is that for them, they're playing a very long-term game. It's not like they live 100 years and they die. No, they can live for thousands and thousands of years freely. And shape-shifting and having all those like things, it's their game. Like they can sit there and like clear and just wait for their thing. But they're pretty much like traders. They're masters of their arts of deception, and they're training in illusion energy. So again, humanity and a lot of beings that can give off this energy that's negative, and like it's just their currency. We're here on Earth using money. Some people are using black market and giving organs and trading children and everything else, and it gets really dark. These beings are pretty much just like taking the luge and owning people in a way where the moment you give off like I'm yours, or you can do anything you want to me, or like I want to be with you forever and things like that, those phrases, it's like all of a sudden they got a little chain on you and now they own you. So it's like, who wants this being? I own them, they're mine, and they can sell you off, so to speak. But it's not like your consciousness is no longer yours and you belong to someone, your body in a way. And the thing is with consciousness, like I just have to mention this part, it's all about how we see ourselves, because some people are going to sell their soul, and all we're selling is our free will to do something, and it's like some control of our life. But at any point in time, we're like, oh, I'm done, I don't believe that part anymore, I'm sort of back in that shape now. So again, if we think that, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I can't draw, I don't know how to play piano, or like anything else, if it's a belief you have about yourself where, oh damn, I got trapped, or yeah, I'm yours, I belong to them, like you literally love that being, you have such a deep connection, and they own you, and you don't realize what they're doing, like your radar's off. So the moment when you drop your guard off and you say certain things, and if you believe that like, hey, I'm yours, you might forget it, you have said it, but you did say it, and now they sort of like take it for granted. And that alone is like this agreement you make, this thing that like leaves your ownership to someone else. But what happens when we're pushed here on Earth is like they sell us off, and they monitor us. They will try to mess up your life and try to harvest your energy and everything else. But what happens is that with these beings that fall for it, now you're a victim, and they will try to mess up your relationships in a way where, hey, you look for someone you can trust. You have a lot of love and you can give it to anyone. And let's say all these emotions and feelings and all of you that you are willing to share with the world, or someone special to you, you might find that person. But this group will sort of like take the person and will make them not notice you. If you've had a connection, you've had a relationship where like for a moment there was a thing, like, oh wow, it's working, they notice me, like there's might be a thing, and you get all excited, and then that group comes in and they will make sure that the person changes completely. They might try to make sure you're isolated and you leave everyone else behind, or this person switches and all of a sudden gains the narcissistic being, or the psychopath, or the sociopath, and all of a sudden they push you away. It's not necessarily like, people have their own things, of course, this is part of their personality, and we have to admit some of them are like, yeah, it's just their thing. But other times, like, they're being taken over. They're being taken over because someone else owns you, and they're going to use you as a product. And if they can harvest your luge and your energy by messing with someone you love deeply, like let's say you have a goal, you have so many emotions, and you're constantly being stopped. You get close and you do things for someone you love and care, and boom, like you get like sort of like all this like pushback, and you're like being punished. You're trying to do good stuff and people show up in your life. And all of a sudden, controlling people is so easy. Just putting things in their head, and they think that this is their thoughts and their feelings, and oh well, but I don't know, I just got this idea, or I feel this way today. I'm moody and stuff. Like sometimes we're being affected and we're not really noticing it. There's of course NPCs and all stuff, but these beings get into our life and they play parts where this person will be a bit manipulative, or they're going to become your rival. There's a person you love and they're going to get into your space, and all of a sudden this person will be freaking lucky getting all the attention of the person you love, and your emotions go ritual because that's your close friend, that's someone you trusted, and all of a sudden they get everything and you get nothing, and that hurts, and you get to see that a lot. So a lot of these situations in life where we gave the ownership of our love and all emotions and everything else to someone else for a while, and we might have forgotten about it. And then we come here and we wonder, why me? Why can't I get that person to love me? Like, no matter what I do, no matter how many people I work with, I just can't get it. No relationships, zero. Or like they all try to mess with me. Sexual abuse, psychological abuse, like all these like manipulations and emotion playing and everything else. Like it's a thing. A lot of people are experiencing it. And I'm not saying that everyone is the victim of it all. No, like some people might actually like, hey, well, that sort of makes sense. I can sort of relate to it. And if that's you, well, great. Now you know that like, okay, feels like it might have happened to me. And all you've got to do from this point, if you realize and if you feel like, yeah, it's you're kind of like felt for it, you have to go back in the moment and sort of like think of, what did you say? What kind of agreement did you give to that person? Like, yeah, I'm yours. I love you. Like you and me forever together kind of thing. It's like things, the vows that the husband and wife make, and things with the religion connected, and oaths people take in the Navy and stuff. Some phrases, something we say that would give a bit of ownership of our lives, where I'm yours. You can do anything you want to me. We get this like close and intimate that we forget all of the things, and that's when we drop our guard. Is when these beings can get into our space and sort of take over. So like if you can sort of spot it, like, hey, yeah, I feel like this is my life. I feel like I might be part of it. Like someone, like no matter what I do, just can't get into relationships. I'm constantly isolated, or this person I love, like, will not notice me ever. Or, like all of a sudden, we are together. We got lucky, but they switched. And the person they were at first, like where they looked at me and, they acknowledged my existence and they liked me and they loved me. All of a sudden they switched to the cold, don't want you, don't care, or anything intimate, nope, not a thing. And all of a sudden, all of these things that made you connect and get together are not there anymore. Like they literally turn it off to just hurt you. So when you realize, like, yeah, might be me, maybe, then think of the things you might have said to allow that, let's say, Teluvian being to sort of play with your emotions and gave you the awesome love life only to bait you and own you. What did you say to them? Like, I love you, and I'm yours. You can do anything you want to me. Together forever. I don't want like it's just you. You're my only one. So when we say those phrases, sometimes it will like work like a hypnotic command, or it will allow those beings to take a bigger control of our life. And just realizing it, being aware, like, yeah, I think I've said this thing, and like you might just feel like inner like we feel like, yeah, that's the thing. It just feels like truth to you, maybe. And with that, hey, I no longer agree to this. I take control back. And at any point in time, you have to realize at any point in time, you can change. You can change your beliefs, your thoughts, your agreements. You don't have to be the slave and, the victim of something you've said billions of years ago. All the karma stuff is being pushed on you. All of these, like, well, if you did this, then you have to pay and everything else. Like, no, to hell with that. You can take control back. So like only realizing that like you might be the victim of it all. Like, oh, I've said something and someone used it against me. I've got blackmailed and someone owes me now. Well, no longer. I take my powers back. I no longer will be with you. And just like sort of like revoking the agreement, like having an intention, saying it within your mind or out loud if you want, if it feels better, having this intention, like, no, just like think of this agreement and it's just like, tearing it apart, cutting it in half and just burning it, or using a galactic vacuum to suck it up. Like anything that works for you, that feels good when you do it, just get it done. Just get it out of your space. And, you might feel some changes. So anyway, I just like found this group today. I was like, oh, okay, like that's something new. I felt like I'll share it with you and I'll keep on exploring them, and like maybe I'll learn something new and we'll make more videos, but hopefully this might give you some ideas. What I shared today is like not necessarily just this group doing to you. We have to remember that before coming on Earth, we have had a lot of lives. We have had a lot of relationships with different people, and same agreements, same things we say, again, will work as a thing that now puts you on a leash and will not, that like that being will basically like, hey, well, you say it, I'm your only one. So I will not allow you to connect to anyone else. And you might feel like no matter what you do, there's some force like that, just keeps you isolated, that keeps you away from people, keeps you from someone you love or care about. And, if you think like it might be you, again, having that intention, breaking the agreement, or even like trying to address the person that you have like made these agreements with, or say something like that to them before coming here on Earth, or even in your like life on Earth before this life, like just breaking off those agreements and stuff, that will help. Having like a conversation with them and saying like, hey, I no longer agree to that. Like that might have been then, but I've changed my mind. I changed my beingness. Like this is no longer my life with you. And you might give them options where you create a realm where you two can be together and part of you plays that game and satisfies them. Or you're like, no, no longer. Like you really hurt me and I no longer want to be with you. Like a lot of variations of how that can go. But it's very important to take care of ourselves. Like this love that you have and loving to learn ourselves is like one big thing, but also like realizing that it's not necessarily your fault that someone was not noticing you or giving you that love. Or maybe there was this connection and all of a sudden it disappeared. There are third parties, sometimes, not all the time, but to some people it might be a thing. So I'm just mentioning it like maybe this will be a thing for you. And if you're aware of it and try to work it out, maybe you'll have some changes. So anyway, that's what I found today. Feel free to like share your stories. If you have a person in your life that you care and love, and all of a sudden, you might have gotten into a relationship or you've tried and it's like they're never there, they never notice you, or they like don't accept you, like feel free to share those stories and might work it out. So anyway, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.